I lived alone on the 4th floor of an on-campus apartment building when I was in college. Early one morning, around 3 a.m., I was awakened by a knock at my door. I got up, half asleep, and went to the door to peek out of the peephole. There was a large guy standing on the other side of my door. I lived in the building for a while and knew my neighbors pretty well, but this guy was unfamiliar to me. I didn't open the door but called out to the guy in the hall. "What do you want?" "I need to use your phone," he answered. "Dude, what?" "It's like 3 a.m., I told him. "Yeah, I know. My car's broke down outside. I need to use your phone," the guy said. I was still pretty blurry-eyed and foggy-headed, but something just seemed so weird about this guy, so I refused to open the door. The guy got frustrated, saying he was in need and that I was not being neighborly and nice. I still refused to open the door, and then he started insulting me. Finally, after repeated refusals to open the door, he left, and I went back to bed. I didn't really think much of it until the next day when I was sitting in class, going over the whole event in my head. It really struck me as very odd that this guy would choose my apartment to go to and ask for help. After all, I lived on the 4th floor in the middle of the hall. He didn't knock on any of the other doors, just mine. When he left my apartment, he didn't try any of the other neighbors. He just left the building. I realized at that moment that he had likely targeted me. If I had lived on the 1st floor near the doors, I might have let it go. But on the 4th, he had gone up 4 flights of stairs and halfway down the hall just to ask to use my phone? Yeah, right. The thought alone put a cold lump in my stomach, especially when I started to remember that there was a payphone in the lobby of the building. Even now, I get chills whenever I think about what might have happened if I had opened my door. I honestly almost did because, around that age, I always wanted to be liked. Fortunately, my gut instinct won out, and I'm here to tell the tale. Thank God nothing happened. So, this happened in April of this year, 2018. Background: I live in a major city in Texas. My apartment complex is gated and in a good neighborhood, but the security isn't extremely tight. Sometimes the gates are left open, and anyone could piggyback off of someone else entering with the access code. Maybe twice in the past 3 years, the management has put out notices of vehicle break-ins or other items being stolen from porches. We also have frequent door-to-door solicitors, even though there are signs forbidding it. Okay, so this particular Friday evening, I go to bed about 2:30 a.m. For some odd reason, I was having trouble getting to sleep, so I put on a podcast to listen to, and eventually start to doze off. I become aware of a noise that sounds like a clicking sound, but it sounds like one of my upstairs neighbors making some noise. I kind of zone it out, as I'm used to my neighbors staying up late on weekends. After about 30 seconds, I realize the noise is extremely repetitive and getting louder. I then start focusing on it more intently, trying to isolate what it could be and where it is coming from. Suddenly, it hits me. It's coming from the entrance to my apartment. I leap out of bed and head to the foyer. I identify the noise right away. The lock mechanism is moving back and forth rapidly, like someone is trying to unlock the front door. I can hear that an object is inserted in the lock, and the person is jimmying it back and forth with a lot of force. I instinctively turn around and head to my bedside safe, unlock it with the combination, pull out my .357 SIG pistol, load a 14-round magazine, and chamber a hollow point round. I head back to the door, and as I exit the bedroom, I see the lock twist and unlatch. I immediately point my weapon straight ahead, knowing that if someone comes through, I will have to make a split-second reaction. I decide that if someone comes through the door, I will give them a momentary chance to retreat, but if they do anything other than that or enter aggressively, I'm going to shoot and ask questions later. They don't enter, however, because I had also locked a deadbolt inside. Only when I first moved in a year prior, I remember thinking that the deadbolt was a great security feature, and I got in the habit of always keeping it locked when I'm home. In hindsight, this decision saved me from a life-or-death confrontation. Upon realizing that, I approached the door and looked through the keyhole. On the other side are 3 Asians, 2 men and 1 woman. All 3 are wearing hoodies, so it's difficult to make out their faces. The men have objects in their hands. I can't make out exactly what. The 2 men are talking back and forth, probably trying to figure out why they can't open the door even though they have successfully opened the outside lock. At this point, the woman is also talking loudly behind the 2 men, such that anyone in the hallway will be able to hear her voice. She's talking in another language. The only words I can make out are, blah blah blah, apartment 250, blah blah blah, and she keeps repeating that over and over like a broken record. Upon hearing that, I start to wonder for a moment if maybe they're just drunk and have the wrong apartment number. but that's impossible. To open my lock, they would have to have a copy of my exact key, or some kind of lock-picking device. I've never copied my key or given it to anyone. Here's the other thing. Not only is 250 not my apartment number, but as I figured out later, that apartment number doesn't exist anywhere in the complex. Standing back from the door, I take a long broom handle and jab it hard into the face of the door, letting them know that I'm on the other side. They immediately stop fiddling with the lock and take off running. I debate whether to call 911 and decide against it unless they return. I know they'll be long gone by the time anyone gets here. It would be too risky to follow them to try and get a better description or license plate, and I don't have enough identifying info as it is to make an arrest. I filed a police report the next day and let the apartment manager know. They said it was unusual, but that they would alert the resource officer and ask for a police presence for a couple of nights. Nothing ever came of that report, but that's not a surprise to me. It's been 7 months since this happened, and no further incidents. Nobody else in the apartment has reported anything similar happening. I don't think they'll be back, but one precaution I took was to buy a smart lock for the deadbolt so I can leave that deadbolt always locked from the inside, even when I'm not home. It's crazy to think that the deadbolt was the only thing between myself and an armed confrontation with intruders. They say you don't really know what you'll do in those situations until it really happens, but I can honestly say I am proud of how I stayed calm and was mentally prepared to defend myself. If there's one good thing that came out of this, I feel confident that I responded the right way and was ready for the unthinkable. So, 3 a.m. burglars with a female accomplice. Let's not meet again. And for your own sake, please find a safer way to make a living. There's nothing in my apartment worth dying for. Last night, my wife and I made a typical trip to our local Walmart. Generally, we go between 1 and 3 a.m. I'm a night owl by nature and have a long-standing aversion to busy stores during the day. Long story involving a holdup. Our local Walmart, which is on the access road of a major interstate highway, is the newest in our area and generally considered safe. A few notes to start off with. The particular area of Texas that my wife and I live in is commonly known for being an area frequented by sex traffickers. It's so bad that the city has put up billboards about sex trafficking. Our county recently had a large prostitution bust involving women who were victims of sex trafficking and johns, with occupations ranging from local pastor, deputy sheriff, elected officials of the city council, big business owners, and one of my clients, who is now a former client since he got himself involved with that crap. There's a particular area of our town that most know not to venture to at night, especially if you're a female. Ironically, this bad area is adjacent to a large university. However, my wife and I live in the suburbs on the south side of town, which is generally considered safe and is well patrolled by the local police department. We have 2 Walmarts in town, one in the bad area and a new one built in our suburb. The Walmart we went to last night is the new one, located a couple of miles from our house. Also, my wife is 27, but looks around 19 or 20. She's an attorney who teaches deadly force, castle doctrine, situational awareness, and handgun safety to women throughout our area. She's been involved in martial arts since she was 5, has a license to carry a handgun, and routinely carries a SIG P250 in her purse. In short, she's well trained for detecting dicey situations. My wife drove our truck to Walmart, and I sat in the back, working on correcting an issue with one of my mobile radios. I'm a ham radio operator. She parked in a well-lit area near the 24-hour entrance, as usual. As typical for the hours we go to Walmart, the parking lot was mostly empty except for the employees who parked near the same entrance. As soon as my wife put the truck in park, a newer gray Kia SUV pulled in sideways, almost blocking my wife from driving any further. A woman in her late 20s, looking like she was under the influence of drugs, stared at my wife for a few seconds, got out of the SUV, ran over to the driver's side window, and started knocking on the window. My wife, being skeptical of any encounter like this, barely cracked the window to see what the woman wanted. Here's what occurred. The woman approached us and said, "I need your help. That man over there needs a jump, and I'm afraid to go by myself." My wife responded, "We don't have any jumper cables. However, I'll call the police for you if you're afraid." The woman insisted, No. I need your help. It'll be quick. I just need your help for a few minutes." My wife, still cautious, asked, "Does that man have jumper cables?" "How do you know him?" "I'm just trying to make sure you're not going into a dangerous situation yourself." The woman replied, "Oh, he's got jumper cables. I just need your help now." Apparently the crazy woman didn't notice me in the back seat, so I figured it was time to make my presence known. My wife said, "We'll call the police for you. We'll be happy to wait here in this area until they get here. For our safety and yours. Please, get back in your car and wait." The woman grew more insistent, saying, "No, you. I don't need a damn man involved. Women need to stick together. Come on, honey. I'm scared and I need your help. I'd help you out if you were in the same situation." My wife stood her ground and replied firmly, "I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't know you. And I'm certainly not walking into a situation that I know sounds like a setup." The woman's tone became more urgent as she pleaded, "You don't understand. I just need you to make sure that I'm safe while he jumps his car. I need you over there now." My wife, still skeptical, countered, "There's a man one row over that parked right around the same time as us. Why didn't you ask him for help?" But the woman simply repeated, her voice strained, "I need your help." I called the police, let them know what was going on, and told them we needed an officer ASAP. My wife rolled up the window, but the crazy woman kept standing around our truck, screaming and pointing for my wife to roll down the window again. Sick of this crap and probably against my better judgment, I got out of the truck and told the woman in a few colorful phrases where she could go if she didn't leave us alone. The crazy woman ran back to her SUV and sped off toward the dark, unlit area of the parking lot where a newer Honda Accord was parked. I got back in the truck and told my wife to lock the doors again and be ready to get the hell out of there if the man and woman started heading our way. While we were waiting for the police, I observed the woman parked next to the Honda, roll down her window and start talking to the man. It was apparent they were in a heated argument, but we were too far away to hear the contents of the conversation. At no point did either of them make an attempt to jumpstart the Honda. In fact, I never saw the man get out of the Honda. A couple of minutes later, a police officer showed up. I flagged him down, told him what happened, and pointed out where the man and woman were parked. As soon as the first police officer started driving toward the dark area of the parking lot, the woman screeched the tires on her SUV and started holing toward the other entrance to the parking lot. Around the same time, the Honda that was supposedly dead magically turned on. Fortunately, another police officer was turning at the entrance and was able to stop the woman. A third officer arrived shortly afterward. My wife and I went into Walmart, did our shopping, and came out about 20 minutes later. When we got back to our truck, both the Kia and Honda were getting towed by a tow company known to work with the local police department. I'm not sure exactly what went down, but I assume that both the man and woman were arrested. If the woman's behavior was any indication, she was heavily under the influence of drugs, and likely had some either on her person or in the SUV. Later, I asked my wife what she would have done if the crazy woman had approached her while we were walking and made an attempt to pull my wife toward the SUV. Her response, "I'd have knocked the crap out of her." I'm a 14-year-old female, and I was on a Discord server. It was a very feminine server with mostly girls and a few guys. Mostly gay, though. That's where I met the predator of our story. He was working for someone to make an art commission for them that he would pay in Robux. It was also a Roblox server. I decided to volunteer since I was pretty broke, and I thought to myself, hey, my art is pretty decent. So, we then DM'd each other about it. I finished the commission, and he paid me. We kept talking for a few months, and now I considered him a really great friend. Looking back on it now, though, I realized that he was grooming me for a while. We stopped talking, and then I DM'd him again, asking if he wanted another art commission. He asked for a picture of me, and I sent one. He said that I was very beautiful and stunning. I don't really remember how it happened, but he ended up manipulating me into sending him inappropriate pictures of me for Robux. That night, I cried myself to sleep. I was in a very vulnerable state at the time. I had lost someone that I'd been really close with, and all the stuff he was doing took a toll on my mental health and other things. He continued asking me for photos and videos of me doing vulgar things to myself and for the camera. It actually got to the point where I just wanted to die. I tried to stop, and I told other people to spread the word about him on Discord, but there was a problem. He found out about this. He then threatened me, saying that if I told anyone, he would expose my photos and other things on his YouTube channel. I was scared. I felt like I couldn't tell anyone. This guy actually had around 70,000 subscribers. I felt like I was trapped in a bubble of water with no way out. After about a month, it had finally settled down and ended. Or so I thought. My mom went through my phone, and she saw the things that he said to me. I was victim shamed, and I told my mom that I wanted to die. It was rough. A few months later, I ended up in a mental hospital for intent to kill myself. It really helped me through this. I'm finally on the meds that I needed, and I'm slowly getting better now. I've blocked him and all of the people he was friends with on every social media platform my mom didn't delete. That's the story for now. I'm honestly doing much better now, but this really did take a toll on me and my mental health.